Hello Year 11, this is Mr. McLeod. Today's lesson is on fractional and negative indices, and the learning objective is to understand how to apply fractional and negative indices. It's a similar lesson to the one that we did last time together, except this time we'll be building on those skills we used last time. Here are the 6 questions for the starter activity. Please pause the video here for 10 minutes and then I will put the answers up on the screen. Here are your 6 answers to the starter activity. Did anyone get 6 out of 6? Well done if you did. Okay, so to start the lesson, here are 9 questions. These are similar to the ones that we did last time. So remember that 2 to the power of negative 3 is just the same as writing 1 over 2 to the power of positive 3. So if you can calculate 2 to the power of 3, you can work out this first answer. Please pause the video here and have 10 minutes to work through these 9 questions. We will go through the answers afterwards. So here are the first 9 answers. Give yourself a tick or a cross in green pen, and if you made any errors, please correct them and try to spot where you went wrong. Now for the first I do and we do of the lesson, we have a fraction raised to a negative power. This is a step harder than the stuff we did last lesson and the stuff we've just done. But I'll show you how we approach it. 3 over 7 to the power of negative 3. Well, the first step is to get rid of that negative power. And the way we do that is by flipping this fraction upside down. So 3 over 7 to the power of negative 3. We can change to 7 over 3, that's been flipped, to the power of a positive 3 rather than a negative. From here, we just do 7 to the power 3, or 7 cubed, and 3 to the power 3, or 3 cubed, which gives me a final answer of 343 over 27. Please pause the video here for a couple of minutes and try the we do yourselves in your books. So for the first we do, 4 over 5 to the power of negative 3, approach it like we did the last one. First, get rid of the negative power by flipping that fraction upside down. So 4 over 5 to the power of negative 3 becomes 5 over 4 to the power of positive 3. From there, it's simply a case of raising 5 to the power 3 and 4 to the power 3. So that becomes 125 over 64. Well done if you got that right. Give yourself a tick and green pen. Okay, so here we have a similar example to the last ones we did. We have 1 over 7 to the power negative 3. It's still the same thing. We get rid of the negative power by flipping that fraction upside down. So 1 over 7 becomes 7 over 1 to the power of positive 3 instead of negative 3. We've got rid of that negative power. From here, we raise 7 and 1 to the power of 3. So 7 to the power of 3 gives me 343. 1 to the power of 3 gives me 1. So we have 343 over 1, or 343. Please pause the video here and allow a couple minutes to try the we do by yourselves. We'll go through it together in a moment. Okay, so for the we do, 1 over 5 to the power negative 3. First step, get rid of the negative power by flipping that fraction upside down. So 1 over 5 to the power negative 3 becomes 5 over 1 to the power of positive 3. 5 to the power 3 makes 125, 1 to the power 3 makes 1, so we get 125 over 1, similar to this format, but then we simplify that to just 125. Well done if you got that right, that's really good. Here are 9 questions of the type we've just seen on the board for you to work through independently. You'll notice that when we get to question E, we get mixed numbers. My biggest tip for those is to convert them into an improper fraction and then go from there. Please pause the video and allow 15 minutes to work through these 9 questions, or more if needed. We'll go through the answers in a moment. So here are 9 questions. 9 answers to the previous 9 questions we've just done. Please tick in green pen and check if you've gone wrong, where you've gone wrong, and see if you can spot and put it right for next time. Okay, so this I do and we do shows us our first example of a fractional power. So we have 81 to the power of a quarter. The way we approach this is quite simple really. A power of a quarter, or the 4 on the denominator, means the 4th root. So we need to find the 4th root of 81. So remember, a power of a quarter is finding the 4th root. So 3 to the power 4 equals 81. I know that. So the 4th root of 81 is 3. For the we do, it's 64 to the power of a third. The power of a third means we find the 3rd root, or the cube root. So if you can find the cube root of 64, you can do this we do here. Please pause the video for a moment to allow time to work through. So 64 to the power of a third. Remember what I said about 64 to the power of a third. The power of a third basically meaning we need to find the 3rd root, the cube root of 64. 4 to the power of 3 equals 64. So the cube root of 64 is 4. Give yourself a tick in green pen if you got that right. Well done if you did. Now for the next I do, it's different to the last one because we've now got a fraction raised to a fractional power. But how we approach it is pretty much the same. The power of a third still means finding the 3rd root, the cube root of 1 over 64. So the cube root of 1 is 1. The cube root of 64 is 4. So this equals 1 over 64 to the power of a third equals 1 over 4, or a quarter. Please pause the video and try the we do for yourselves, remembering that the power of a quarter means the 4th root. Okay, so 1 over 81 to a power of a quarter. Well, I know the 4th root of 1 is still 1, so that stays the same. The 4th root of 81 is 3. So 1 over 81 to the power of a quarter equals 1 over 3. That's brilliant if you can get that right. Well done. Here are 9 questions on the board. Please pause the video here for 15 minutes to allow students to work through these 9 questions. And here are the 9 answers to the questions we've just seen. Mark in green pen, please. Okay, so this example, the I do and we do here, are slightly different because this time we have a negative fraction as the power. But we've seen both of these things before and we can deal with them. The negative power, get rid of it by flipping this fraction upside down. So 125 over 64 to the power of negative 3, we can make simpler by simply flipping the fraction 64 over 125 to the power of positive 1 over 3. Then we remember that the power of 1 over 3 means the cube root. So we find the cube root of 64, which is 4, and find the cube root of 125, which is 5. Please pause the video here and try the we do by yourselves. Start off by getting rid of the negative power by flipping this fraction upside down. Okay, so 64 over 27 to the power negative a third. Flip it upside down and get rid of the negative power. So this becomes 27 over 64 to the power of a third. And then the power of a third means the cube root. So we find the cube root of 27 and the cube root of 64, which brings this down to 3 over 4, or 3/4. And for one last example, we have 121 over 64 to the power of negative a half. Remember my first step, I get rid of the negative power by flipping this fraction upside down. So 121 over 64 to the power negative a half becomes 64 over 121 to the power of a positive a half. Now the power of positive a half means the second root, the square root. So we find the square root of 64 and we find the square root of 121, which becomes 8 and 11 respectively. Please pause the video and try the we do for yourselves. Okay, so for the last we do, 64 over 49 to the power of negative a half. Flip the fraction upside down so it becomes 49 over 64 to the power of a positive a half. We've got rid of the negative power. The power of a half means the square root, so we find the square root of 49 and 64, which equals 7 over 8. Here are 9 questions. Please pause the video here and allow 15 minutes to work through these 9, maybe more if it's needed. Thank you. Here are your 9 answers to the questions we just did. Please mark in green pen. Well done if you got 9 out of 9. Okay, so here we have another example. Our first I do is 27 to the power 2 over 3. So this time we have a fractional indice where the top of the fraction is not just 1, and that changes what we have to do a little bit, but not much. The first thing and the best thing to do is look at the denominator of the fraction, which is 3. Remember that a 3 on the bottom, the denominator of the fraction, the power of a third, means we find the third root, the cube root. So apply that one first. Let's get rid of the 3 by doing the cube root of 27. That equals 3. But I can't forget about this 2 on the top. So I've got an answer of 3 and I've got rid of the bottom, the 3 on the bottom, and I've got an answer of 3. But I still need to deal with this 2 on the top. So if I raise 3 to the power of the numerator, the 2, 3 to the power 2 equals 9. So 27 to the power of 2 over 3 equals 9. Please pause the video and work through the we do yourselves. So for the we do, 125 to the power of 2 over 3. Remember what I said about using the bottom power first. So that's a 3 on the bottom. So we need to find the cube root of 125. The cube root of 125 is 5. Now the answer we get from that, we need to raise to the power of the numerator, 2. So 5 to the power of a 2 equals 25. So 125 to the power of 2 over 3 equals 25. Really well done if you got that right. That's a tough question. Okay, so for this I do and we do, we have a fraction raised to a fractional power, so 1 over 64 to the power of 5 over 6. So first we need to get rid of that 6 on the bottom. It's the same process. Find the 6th root of both 1 and 64. The 6th root of 1 over 64 is just 1 over 2. 6th root of 1 is 1. 6th root of 64 is 2. That goes to a half. Then we need to raise that to the power of the numerator, the 5 on the top. So a half to the power of 5 equals 1 over 32. Pause the video and try the we do for yourselves. 1 over 64 to the power of 2 over 6. Okay, so for the next we do 2 over 6, 1 over 64 to the power of 2 over 6. We find, again, get rid of the denominator by finding the 6th root of both these numbers. So the 6th root of 1 is 1, 6th root of 64 is 2. So this goes to 1 over 2. And then we raise that to the power of the numerator, the 2. So a half to the power of 2, or half squared, equals a quarter. And that's my final answer. Here are 9 questions of the type we've just done. Please pause the video and allow 15 or more minutes to work through these 9 questions, and then we'll go through the answers together afterwards. Here are your answers to the last 9 questions. Please mark in green pen. Okay, so for the next I do and we do, and probably the hardest example we're going to see on this topic, where we've got 25 over 64 to the power of negative 3 over 2. We just have to break this down and use the skills that we've learnt previously. So first things first, get rid of that negative power by flipping this fraction upside down. So we change this question, 25 over 64 to the power of negative 3 over 2, to 64 over 25 to the power 3 over 2, positive 3 over 2 this time. Then get rid of the denominator, is the 2 on the bottom. That means I want to take the square root of this fraction, the second root, the square root. So 64 over 25, if I find the square root of that, it goes to 8 over 5. Then I need to raise this to the power of the numerator, which is a 3. So 8 over 5 to the power of a 3 equals 512 over 125. Please pause the video and try the last we do for yourselves. So for the final we do of the lesson, it's 64 over 49 to the power of negative 3 over 2. First things first, get rid of that negative power, flip this upside down. So it becomes 49 over 64 to the power of positive 3 over 2. Get rid of the denominator, the 2, that means the square root. So we find the square root of 49 over 64, which goes to 7 over 8. Now this answer we need to raise to the power of the numerator, the 3. So 7 over 8 to the power of 3 equals 343 over 512. That's excellent work if you can get that right. Well done. Here are the last 9 questions of the lesson. Please pause here and allow for as long as necessary to complete these 9 questions. We'll go through the answers afterwards. Okay, Year 11, I apologise because I didn't have the answers on this PowerPoint, but I can go through the first couple with you. So for the first question, 25 over 9 to the negative 3 over 2. Get rid of the negative by flipping it upside down, it becomes 9 over 25. Take the square root because of the 2 on the bottom, so it becomes 3 over 5, and then raise both of those to the power of 3. So we get 3 over 5 raised to the power of 3 becomes 27 over 125. If you got that one right, well done, give yourself a tick. For the second one, again, get rid of the negative power. Turn this to 9 over 64 to the power 3 over 2. Get rid of the bottom, the 2 on the bottom. So it becomes 3 over 8 to the power of 3. 3 to the power of 3 makes 27, so you should have 27 in the numerator. 8 to the power of 3 makes 512. Give yourself a tick if you got that one right. We're almost out of time now, Year 11, so thank you for listening. Please mark the first two, and well done for working well. I'll see you soon.